Could you describe for us the process that you go through in creating a painting?
I think there is no such set formula or a certain direction you have to take. Then you reach a certain
But what happens to you?
I think it is. First of all, I think I don't feel any difference between a bricklayer and a painter. Of course, one must be perfect in the technique, how you have the application of paint and all that. The technical side of the painting should be on your tip of your finger. For that, you shouldn't hesitate for a split of a second. And that you can achieve like the musicians. When they do the riyaz, they start at the very early age of 6 or 7. So they take nearly 10, 15 years to reach certain, But here in painting, unfortunately, there's College of Arts training. All certain people, they just in 2 years or 5 years you get a degree, or you think you'll become a painter. I think it's maybe you 1 or 2 paintings here and there, that looks good, but that is not enough. To evolve one's own vision, that requires time. As the Chinese master has said, one of the masters, he said, when he was 60 or 70, he said, if I get a lease of life of another 10 years, I'll know where to put the exact spacing of the line on the given space. And that's another, you need 10 years to find a right place for a dot. So that is the whole, crux of what is the whole mystery of the creation. Mm-hmm. It is not that you just, in this splash of, the feeling
or an impulse.
Or impulse, you just can create a great masterpiece or even a good work of art. Though people think that the way I go about and paint in public, but that is, again, it is the whole experience of my 40 years experience.
It is your philosophy of art to sort of debunk the intellectual dimension of it, and as is sort of the example of much of your life. In your art, there have been the evolution of many symbols, and I think the most familiar one, even to the uninitiated in art, has been the use of horses. Yeah. And there's been the cow, and then there has been even the Western symbol of a sheep in the Andhra cyclone, and the hand, and numerous symbols. How is a symbol born for you?
I think most of Indian classical art, the sculpture and painting, it's very symbolic. And that too, like the whole the dance of Shiva, that is evolved over thousands of years to relate it to the cosmic the movement, the cosmic rhythm. So that is it's not a work which is you ask somebody, a dancer, to pose and you just make a drawing and it becomes a Shiva, dance of Shiva, because there it's all the calculations. Even the the measurement of the finger is determined earlier, and those were written by in those times, those Shilpa Shastra, what they call it. So you have to follow that, but even following that, like the musicians, you have the 7 notes, but with 7 notes, what a variety and you have created in the music world.
You have drawn aesthetic inspiration from Shiva and Hanuman. How has that happened for someone who was born a Muslim and has had an upbringing in that tradition?
I think this is, from the childhood I was exposed to these I used to go to see the Ramayana. In the villages, they used to fascinate me, because these are the images, I think, out of this world, and it encompasses so many things of our Indian culture. So here is not the question of whether you belong to you are a Muslim or a Hindu or Christian or anything, because this is the the greatness of this country, uh, the the Indian culture, the Indian civilization, which is evolved out of so many forces which they came and settled here. So this is a unique, what you call, it's called what you call, I use the composite culture, which I think in other countries, they never allowed other forces to, to grow. So this is not whether I can belong to any sect, but I'm only concerned about this composite culture.
What is your faith? Do you have a religious practice that you maintain regularly? Are you religious? In any
religious
formal
is
sense?
Religion not in the narrow sense. You see. I'm very religious, in the sense that I believe certain forces. I think here I can easily quote that is Ian Foster when he said that I don't believe in God. Oh God, help me in my disbelief.
What do you believe in? Is there a philosophy of life that guides you, moves you, drives you?
I think there's so many elements. The life is itself is so full of. I think sometimes I feel is one life is not enough. Because even I pick up just a piece of paper or just a small stone. I can paint 1,000 canvases on that. There's so much to say. And I wonder why people wait for what they call it. They wait for the inspiration to come from heaven. This is here. Everything is here. And another aspect which I have, I think, the major approach to painting is, I'm not by nature a perfectionist. And the reason being, because if I just pick up one or two elements and work all my life on that, that is also a one way of doing it. But I don't know, I'm impatient. And I like to cover as much as possible, all the experiences which comes to mind must come to me.
Well, painting has really been only one dimension of your life. You have dabbled in filmmaking. If you could be other things apart from being a painter, what might you be?
It's got all these different disciplines, the creative. I think it has the same problem, whether it's the music or painting or photography or filmmaking. Filmmaking is, I think, it's more or less its most complete medium up to date. Because it incorporates all the forms of art, the sound, the line, the color, and everything.
How important was the short time you spent in training to be a painter for you? You spent some time in art school.
Yeah.
What is the role of art schools, and what would be a good art education?
I think again, frankly speaking, one should go to the worst college of art, and that is the real test whether you have something in you. These art schools are not going to affect. They are not going to make you a great painter or a bad painter. They are inconsequential. Because the training of art is purely, it's very personal. You may learn few techniques, and that is also in 1 or 2 years. And the rest is, the whole lifespan is there.
You've mentioned have something in you. What might this something be?
I think they call it, what is the word?
Inspiration, you mentioned?
Inspiration, I don't think inspiration. I think it is the real urge in you, the passion. Because when I began, when I opened my eyes, I think there was no art schools, and there was no atmosphere of gallery, nothing in indoor, it was College of Art. And for nearly 10, 15 years I was working there. So this is it should be the moment I used to see any face in the magazine, in the newspaper, I used to cut and keep it because it would fascinate me. Any picture.
You're very much a sort of almost a gypsy itinerant who likes to paint all over the place and is constantly on the move. Yeah. Have you found an ideal nestling place where you're most comfortable, most at ease, most at home?
I think I'm wandering lust and this wandering all over for the last 20, 30 years. I don't think I can stay at one place more than 8 or 10 days. Mm-hmm. So, I can work in any circle anywhere. And now when I go abroad, I just stay in a hotel room and I paint there.
To many of us, a painting is something that we frequently don't comprehend. It's a blur of images. How important is it to understand a painting in order to respond to it?
I mean, mostly the contemporary painting means after the Impressionist and all these paintings have become more of it's more agitational. I think one can name post-impressionism and cubism, all those, but that is purely technical side of it. But I think here the broken line itself says, it has all those flowing lines of the Renaissance, the curves and all that's all gone. So here it reflects the time, because the time is so fragmented. Today everything is in so many fragments. There is not a smooth continuity of any event or anything. So I think it reflects that in the painting, where you like Picasso, or even right from Goya, he was commenting on the society, and he was agitated. So I think it's purely it's not a painting where you sit in the drawing room and have a cup of tea and enjoy, because the painting challenges you, it questions you. Questions not. It's not it's not the illustration of any social evil, what's going on, injustices, but it disturbs you. So it gives you a little shock, because you put red on the forehead and the yellow in the chin. That you will question why this red and why this yellow. But this is to break the this monotony of the routine which goes on in this world. So sometimes it becomes difficult, but I think now people relate it when they see so much of violence around. And I don't think they are any more shocked, especially the younger generation. But it's totally in tune with them. I don't think they could stand for 2 minutes in front of Chaptai or Nandlal Bose. They will hate it.
What is the joy or the pleasure that you get out of painting?
I think it is a sheer joy of, I should call it the celebration of life, which I think most of the painting convey. Life, even in the death there is life.
I think that most of us sort of begin to think of our own deaths, and it evokes a feeling of fear. And it's interesting that it evokes joy in you. Do you think about your own death at all? Does that frighten you?
It doesn't frighten me, really. I don't know. Maybe when I come very close to it, it could happen any time. So at that moment, what happens, I don't know. But it doesn't give me the slightest, what you call, thought of fright.
Do you believe in a life after death, or
I do.
a form?
Of course. The whole cosmic, the structure is based on that. Otherwise, it is meaningless. The life is meaningless.
When you have produced a painting, how important is the viewer's response to you, or is the process complete with the creation of the work of painting?
I think the whole process of creation is much more, as I said, more exciting. And after that, of course, you are happy if there is some response. In the beginning, it used to bother me, but not now. Now, whether people like it or don't, it's up to them.
What is your view of art criticism as practiced?
I think we should leave them alone. The thing is, it's a very controversial, but there are people who have really played a major role, like Kumaraswamy here in India, or Andre or Malraux. But I think because this is a profession, this is a thing. Those people who write for the newspaper, first of all, they are very poorly paid. So how can you expect them to take it up very seriously, to study, without for a doctor or for a lawyer, anything you need the degree, but not for the art critic. You can write anything on that. That is, so it's naturally there is not much, seriousness in it. So I'm very, I've been telling to the people, the press editors and all that they should engage as they have the editor or a special thing. So they must have some qualified people to write on art.
The public perception of you is of sort of a genius, of impulsive, maybe a little sort of somewhat passionate, and dare I use the word, even sometimes eccentric. You go around in a very colorful car. You don't wear shoes. People wonder why you don't wear shoes. For example, is that a statement of some kind?
I think it is.
What is the statement?
The statement is to, whenever you go to office or there, the first thing they look at is your feet, what type of shoes you are wearing. From that they establish your status. So I want to demolish that. I say I don't wear the shoes. Now you try to figure out who I am.
Doesn't it get uncomfortable sometimes on a hot road, or if it's cold?
No, then there is the other, what you call the health reasons also. Because there, when you walk on very hot road, you really, because all the nerves are here, and it helps, it becomes very taut. It's like the old method of cauterization to some extent. You give a really charka, and you get.
Are you able to stay without shoes even when you're abroad, and when it's snowing or when it's very cold?
Except if snow, I just can't. That is, but short of fire, I can walk anywhere.
What do you do when you're not being a painter? Or is it something you can never escape being?
No, I think then the literature was very want to write poetry. In those days, I used to write poetry in Urdu. And even I had, because all Urdu poets, they have a name in the end. It was called Haya. But later on, when I started painting, I became Behaya.
Would you recite a poem for us that you feel might...
But then I never wrote in Urdu after that.
Or
I only wrote in English.
Well, would you recite a poem
because,
in English?
There's one which I would, like an epitaph, is, when I begin to paint, hold the sky in your hands, as the stretch of my canvas is unknown to me.
If we were to take any canvas of yours, say the one right behind us, how did that come about? How did the impulse to paint? You're taking a walk somewhere, an image comes to you, but otherwise, how does your creativity manifest itself and find expression?
But particularly this painting is based on the raga, is the Deepak Rag, which Tansen used to sing. Now it's not there, I think, because it's very dangerous. If you really sing it perfectly, you might put the thing on fire. So here, so that was, the musician himself is almost has become in ashes. All the colors, he's burnt himself, and then the thing, the reds here, and the layers of certain. But this is it. When I started painting, it was just vaguely that raga, but in the process of painting, I went on, improvising and using this layer or this black cloud to smoky sky. So there is no such, perhaps it's not that moment you get all the elements which you want to put in the canvas. It is your observation which you have accumulated over the years. So from that store, you take out certain things.
Do you find the painting tends to take over from you and you don't know where it's headed?
Yes, that's how it should be. If you know everything perfectly, well, what you're going to, then it becomes a design, a pattern. Because you must have certain areas left where you just group into it. You deliberately, do certain areas where it becomes out of your control, and then you try to, hold it out. That's the whole fun of creation.
Are you sometimes bothered that you are a controversial artist who tends to do what appear to be populist?
No, I don't want to threaten them. I think there are. I think there should be one should have here is a total freedom of expression, and I think that should be given to an artist. I can paint a demon, and I can paint an angel, both with same fervor.
What do you consider your principal failing as a painter or as a human being?
I think no person is perfect human being. There is, I think, and the greater the failure, I think is the greater the challenge.
So what is the failing, if it's not being too personal?
I think failing in the sense, because I'm still continuing. That means there are so many flaws which is still there.
Is it possible to define these flaws in any way? I mean, it could be as...
Are they, huh? It's very, the perfect creation, I would say, which this cosmos has given, I think it is the form, the female form. I think it is the ultimate. So I think no painter has achieved that so far.